morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of E.W. Jackson for America. And I'm glad to be with you. Had a few days off. We've been giving you some best of because I was, of course, in Colorado on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and back here. And then on Mondays, we play the sermon that I gave on Sunday. And that was really a three-part series. It was the first of a three-part series entitled Standing Up for Truth in the Era of Lies. Standing up for truth in the era of lies. And folks, we are living in an era of lies. There is no question about it in my mind. A few things I want to hit with you today, but first, of course, before I do, I want to remind you again, we are now less than a month away from the Stand Awards dinner at the Tyson's Corner Marriott on May the 16th that's in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, at 7 p.m. And I hope you will come. We will be giving out the George Washington Award for taking a stand. I love this bust. I'd like to hold it up. My favorite American hero, my favorite American figure. But we'll be giving out the George Washington Award for taking a stand to four great patriots, all of whom you know, of course. Allen West, retired lieutenant colonel, combat veteran, former congressman, spokesperson for constitutional principles, great man of God, frankly. Michelle Bachmann, Honorable Michelle Bachmann, former congresswoman, businesswoman, now the Dean of Government for the Robertson School of Government at Regent University, Dean of the Robertson School of Government at Robertson. I'll get it right. Dean of the Robertson School of Government at Regent University. And, of course, none other than Dr. Alveda King, who is the niece of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And she is really a great woman of God and a great pro-life activist. And, of course, Andrew Wommack. Andrew Wommack is one of the largest ministries in the world today. Not just in America, in the world. And his ministry reaches worldwide. But he has not shied away in any way from taking a stand on the biblical moral issues with which we are confronted today. I mean, so many people with his size ministry just won't do that. They're just afraid. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to upset anybody. They don't want to offend anybody. Andrew Wommack, as I always say, it's not that we want to offend people. It's not that we go around looking for a way to offend people. It's just that we stand for the truth, and we're not going to back off just because people are offended. And, of course, they do get offended. Those are our four great patriots who will receive the George Washington Award for taking a stand. We have a great crowd. It's going to be a great event, very uplifting, very inspiring. You're going to hear more about what STAND does. Everybody who comes is going to get a copy of our annual report. So you'll get a sense of what we've been doing, what we've been up to. And I hope that all of you will come. Tickets are $150. You can get those at standamerica.us. We've got a lot of sponsors, by the way, who have bought tables and bought tickets. So we're going to have some tickets that we will be able to give away. But here's going to be the issue on the giveaway tickets. Last year, we did this, and we had some people really appreciated it and really took advantage of it. And a lot of people reserved spots that didn't show up. And when they do that, folks, it costs us. Because basically we then agree to pay for those dinners, and then people don't show up, and we're on the hook. And these dinners are not inexpensive. We're not charging you $150 for a dinner that only costs us $20. The dinners are $100. Okay, so then you add all the other expenses that we've got for the dinner, and basically the dinners themselves, $150 for the dinner, is pretty much a wash. It's just to avoid us going in the hole. The fundraiser, we really raise the funds through our sponsors, many of whom buy tables and so forth, and then they say, but look, I can't make it, or I can take 2 of those spots, but you got 8. So basically, as a courtesy to our supporters and people who perhaps can't afford the $150, we invite people to come once we figure out how many tickets we've got, how many dinners we have that are already paid for. We try to give those out. But here's what we're going to do this year to avoid wasting money, because we've wasted several $1,000s. I mean, that's not right, because people donate the money for us to use it for the mission, not to throw it away that way. So we're going to say when that time comes, and not starting it yet, but when that time comes, which will probably be within the next week or so, we will say, okay, you can get these reserve tickets. They're complimentary because of our sponsors. But in order to get that, in order to have that dinner waiting for you, you must confirm. It's going to be a few days before the dinner. We'll set the date. I'm not sure when it will be. The dinner's on a Tuesday. I think it's the Thursday before. You must confirm. If you do not confirm, don't show up, because there will not be a dinner waiting for you. Because we want the confirmation to make sure that we have reserved dinners for people who are actually coming. Not have a bunch of dinners for people and then, half of them don't show up. And again, once we've committed, we got to pay the money, whether they show up or not. So forgive me for going into all that, but we had this experience last year. We're trying to avoid making the same mistake this year, because frankly, it's not fair to our donors to waste money that way. It's just not. So, but at any rate, for those of you who want to come, can buy the tickets, go to standamerica.us and buy your ticket right there. Or you want to sponsor. We still need sponsorships. Sponsorships begin at the Patrick Henry level at $1,500 and go all the way up to the George Washington underwriter sponsor, which is $25,000. So I hope that you will take advantage of a sponsorship, because there again, that's really what makes the dinner a successful fundraising event. It's the sponsors. So come, get a ticket. If you can't, stand by. We will have some available, but please, if you reserve a ticket, please make sure you actually come, okay? Please do that for us, because otherwise, rather than us doing you a favor, it really ends up costing us money, okay? All right, here's the second thing. My book is out, Sweet Land of Liberty, Reflections of a Patriot Descended from Slaves. It's not on the New York Times bestseller list, not on any bestseller list yet, but I really believe it's going to be. I really believe, as more people find out about it, the sales are climbing. We're very happy with it. So if you don't have it yet, get it. If you want to buy it, you can buy it at wherever bookstores are sold. Wherever books are sold. Oh, it's morning, folks, and it's been a long weekend. It's already Tuesday, but I'm still feeling the weekend lag. But wherever books are sold, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can get it at a 15% discount from my publisher, okay? Because then there's no middleman. And you can go to faithfultext.com. Faithfultext.com. Let me say that one more time. Get your pen out so you can write this down. Faithfultext.com. And just ask for the 15% coupon, and you'll get it 15% off the retail price through our publisher, Fidelis. Okay, now, of course I can't not mention, but on the other hand, if you want to support us, you want to help us, you can get a free copy of the book, signed and dated too, but signed and numbered. You get a free copy of the book, signed and numbered, if you sign up for a Patriot Partnership at $25 a month, or you sign up for $300 contribution. And of course, we hope that you'll be repeating that from year to year. We're asking for partners, not just one-time gifts, but for partners to join in with us. Our goal is 500 Patriot partners by the end of this year. And we are on our way to, we're tracking toward that. So become a Patriot partner. Help us on an ongoing basis, because look, this fight is not going to be over next month, next year. We're in this thing until we've won. And right now, we're far from winning. We're going to win, but we're far from winning yet. So I'm asking you to partner with us, stick with us. And by the way, for those of you watching me who may have an estate and you've already got a will and all of that, go to our website, click on I think there's a page for estate planning, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that myself and see if I'm giving you right information here. Okay, giving. Well, the first thing that comes up is the dinner, but giving, you can, yeah, when you click on giving, go to plan and estate giving, and it will give you a whole, give you significant information on making an estate gift to Stan. You know, here again, the work we are doing is going to go on beyond us. I'm 71 years old right now. I'm hoping to live another 20 years, maybe longer, who knows, and believe in God for good health. I wouldn't want my wife to hear me sound like I'm predicting when I'm leaving here, because I don't know. But I mean, you know, 20, 25 years, who knows, maybe 30 years. But I'm not going to be here forever, and neither are you. But this is a way of enhancing and increasing our ability to impact the country beyond our lifetime. My wife and I may live to see our granddaughter graduate from high school, from college, maybe even get married. But we're not going to see her live to the age we are. And any other grandchildren we have, we're not going to see them live to the age we are. But we want a country that is good for them. So my wife and I have an estate gift to Stan to help make sure that it continues to carry out the mission of bringing Americans together across racial and cultural lines to uphold our Judeo-Christian values and principles: constitutional governance, free markets, free enterprise, individual liberty, personal responsibility, those principles that made America the most successful nation in the history of mankind. So please consider that, okay? Please consider that. Because again, one-time gifts are great and we really appreciate them, but we're really looking for people who believe in what we're doing enough to just stick with us and just say, you know what, I'm going to be with you from year to year as long as I'm here. And maybe people will even say, I'm going to include you in my will, include Stan in my will, and make sure that a portion of whatever wealth I leave goes to help Stan to carry out his mission. It's the first time I ever talked about that on the air, but just wanted to get that out there. So Patriot Partnership, StanAmerica.us, regular giving, StanAmerica.us, estate giving, StanAmerica.us. All right, here's what's on my mind today. And you've heard me talk about this before, but I want to get into it a little bit more. I heard this, I've heard it so many times I can't even count them, but I heard it again this morning. You know, people are looking for those who are in the moderates in the middle, not the extreme right or the extreme left. And I hear conservatives talk this way. So this is the first thing I want to say to you. That is a specious analysis of what's going on. Because once again, now I may get animated and of course express myself passionately, but folks, there's nothing extremist about the views I hold. And for those of you watching me because you agree with me, there's nothing extremist about the views you hold. This is another one of the big lies. Because think about the views we hold on social issues. We believe that a baby in its mother's womb deserves protection. That's an extremist view. You realize there was a time when the extremist view would have been to think that it was somehow okay to kill an unborn baby. That was the extremist view. But now the view that it's not only okay, but laudable, good, great, something to celebrate, to kill an unborn baby. Now that's not extreme. But those of us who are pro-life and say, well, wait a minute, that unborn baby is a person, is a life. God has a plan for that person. Oh, you're an extremist. But that's the way people thought before the left came along with Planned Parenthood and eugenics and racist, elitist Margaret Sanger and all of their godless ideas about this being nothing but a blob and the population is too big as it is and there's certain people who don't deserve to live and you got to get rid of them, snuff them out before they're alive. And somehow that's now mainstream. And the people who think the same way we thought 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago about the importance of life, about that when a woman says, I'm having a baby, because that's what she's having. Now that's suddenly extreme. See, what has happened, the left and the Democrat Party have twisted reality. I'm not extreme. You're not extreme. We're mainstream. But they have redefined the terms so that we get defined as extreme and they get, oh, killing babies is very, very, very laudable. Killing unborn babies, very laudable. Mainstream thinking. Anybody who thinks that that baby should be protected, that person's a monster. And yet, as I've said before, I'll say again to all of you, every single one of us alive today was conceived in our mother's wombs. At what point, tell me, at what point from conception on was it not you? When you were first conceived, was that not you? Well, then who was it? Those eggs are multiplying and developing as we do throughout our lives. At what point was that not life? I mean, this is just a complete denial of obvious reality. And yet those of us who acknowledge that reality are labeled by the mainstream media, by the colleges, by the universities, by Planned Parenthood, by the multi-billion-dollar baby killing industry they call the abortion industry. They label us as extremists. And yet every single one of us went through every one of those stages, just like that unborn baby's going through those stages now. And every single one of us is in one way or another demonstrating our human potential, just like those unborn babies will if they are allowed to live. And those of us who say, well, they should be allowed to live, we're the extremists, and the people say, no, kill them. It's inconvenient. Get rid of them. You say, well, Bishop, they don't think of it that. Of course they do. They're celebrating it, folks. This is no longer, well, you know, it's a terrible thing, and it's a, you know, I mean, we really regret that it's necessary, but we're trying to. No. Now they want to high-five each other over it. How many babies did you kill today? 25. All right. And we're the extremists because we say, let those babies live? We're the extremists because we say there are only two genders. Now, throughout all of human history, that's all people have ever known. And you've just gotten in the last few years these radical leftists denying all biological, all genetic, all physiological reality. We're now told we must believe that a person can have all of the indices genetically, biologically, physiologically, hormonally, all the indices of one or the other of those genders, and yet on the inside, whatever that means, there's something else. On the inside, there's something else. I mean, what does that even mean? What it means, they have a mental illness called gender dysphoria. But oh, no, 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 no. No, that's an extremist position. See, the mainstream position is you got to be willing to cut off a teenage girl's breasts. You got to be willing to cut off a young boy's genitalia. You got to be willing to inject them with, with sexual hormones that try to turn them into something that they're not. You got to try to block their puberty. And all the data that I've read says this makes people more emotionally and mentally unstable. This makes it more likely that they will commit suicide. And by the way, many of them, when they become adults, want to detransition and find that they have done things to themselves that cannot be undone. They were minors looking for adult guidance, and instead they got adults helping them to mutilate their own bodies that they have to then live with a lifetime of regret. And yet we who say, wait a minute, don't do that to young children. Wait and let them as adults make those decisions. Oh, no, you're an extremist. Now, if somebody said, you know, kid can smoke at 7 years old, kid can drink at 7 years old, kid can have sex at 7 years old, I think that's where they're going with this. You say, oh, man, that's an extreme position. What's wrong with you? Children can't do that. A child can't drive at 7 years old. You say, no, put him behind the wheel, it'll be fine. Oh, no, that's an extreme position. But they can make a decision as a young child to mutilate their bodies, inject themselves with hormones, change their name, all of this stuff as kids. And any adult who says, you're too young to make those decisions, you're the extremist. Although if you said, well, then let them smoke, let them drink, let them drive cars, let them, oh, they say, oh, no, you can't do that. They're too young for that. But they can mutilate their own bodies, and that's okay. Oh, and by the way, if you oppose it, not only are you extremist, but if you're a parent, in some jurisdictions, they want to take your child away from you because you're not cooperating with the child's desire to transition. Now, here's what I'm getting to, folks. Who are the extremists? Not us. The views we are espousing are normal. They are mainstream. But the left, in typical Orwellian fashion, has so distorted the vocabulary and so distorted reality, and they've got so many allies to help them do it, that they would convince all of us that there are pink elephants dancing around our rooms. Because they want everybody to buy into their lies. I just refuse to accept these declinations. I refuse to accept these categories that we are somehow right-wing extremists. No, that's their lie. The fact of the matter is, they are left-wing crazies. They are Marxists, they're socialists, they're atheists, they're secularists, they're sexual sadists, they're sexual predators, they're child exploiters. And we are the ones trying to stop the onslaught of all this craziness. We are plumb in the middle, frankly, going plumb down the middle of the road if you wanted to look at reality. And they are way out somewhere so far in left field you can't even see them. You need a telescope. Don't let these people redefine reality for you. And these folks, even on these conservative networks, you say, the problem is we got the extreme left and we got the extreme right. Well, we're the extreme right. Okay, are you talking about skinheads? You're talking about Ku Klux Klan people? You're talking about, what do they call it? is it white identity or whatever these people are who really do believe that somehow, quote unquote, white people are superior and they should rule and all that. Okay, but those people aren't conservative. Those people, they're not part of the conservative movement. But I tell you what, the people who want to kill babies are part of the left movement. They're part of the Democrat Party. The people who want to operate on children, they're part of the left mainstream. They're part of the Democrat Party. And you could go right on down the road with that. I mean, well, the people who believe that 2 men and 2 women can get married, and that's just as valid as a man and a woman getting married, even though they can't do the most fundamental thing that marriage was created by God to do, which is to procreate. God said, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. 2 men can't do that. It is a physical impossibility. Pete Buttigieg and this guy that he's committing these abominations with, they have a child. Now, how did they get it? They certainly didn't make it because they can't. And 2 women can't either. God didn't design it that way. We're not extremists for asserting that because it's a physiological, biological, genetic, reproductive reality. But oh no, you're not allowed to say that. See, you got to pretend somehow that 2 men can do the same thing a man and a woman can do, and they can't. Or 2 women can do the same thing a man and a woman can do, and they can't. That's why no 2 men will ever be married. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. Now, I know legally they are. I know that. But I'm telling you, spiritually, it'll never be recognized in the sight of God. And therefore, it's a spiritual matter. I will never recognize it. Now, as a legal matter, I don't have any choice because I'm a law-abiding person, and I realize the law is the law. As long as it does not have to encroach upon me and I have to do an honored protest, that's just the reality of it. You just have to deal with that. But from a spiritual perspective, there is no such thing as a marriage between 2 men and no such thing as a marriage between 2 women. It doesn't exist in the realm of spirituality. It doesn't exist in the vocabulary of eternity. And same way I've said before, when William Thomas stands before God, he's going to stand before God as a guy. When Bruce Jenner stands before God, he's going to stand before God as a guy. God's not going to be confused about who they are and what they are. They may be, but God is not. So now, if I'm an extremist, then I guess God is an extremist. Because Jesus said at the beginning, God made them male and female. And he stopped there. He said, therefore shall a man, male of the species, leave his father and mother and shall cling to his wife or woman, female of the species. And they two shall become one flesh, which implies, of course, sexual consummation. And what God has joined together, let not man put asunder. That's not an extremist position, that's a mainstream position. And the left has so tried to distort reality that they want to now label you and me for taking that position, that biblical position, that 6,000-year-old position that's never been questioned before in human history. And now all of a sudden, to hold that position is an extremist view because the left has come along with some cockamamie ideas that they got out of the pit of hell, and we're all supposed to go along. And if you don't, you're a bad person. Well, we're not going along. We're not going along. We're not going along with the idea, as a footnote, that because you happen to be black or you happen to be poor or whatever, you can go out and commit melee and rob and pillage and plunder and shoot people and murder people and steal people's cars and break into their houses, and somehow it ought to be excused away because after all, it's only caused by social justice. That's an extreme position. The mainstream position is, no, you are a criminal, you're a thug, and we're going to catch you and lock you up, and punish you to the fullest extent of the law, and you deserve every day you do in jail. And in some cases, you deserve the death penalty because you are a scourge on humanity. And the color of your skin doesn't matter and doesn't give you a pass. That's not an extreme position. That's a mainstream position. But no, the left comes along with this idiot mayor just got elected. It's apparently going to be worse than Lori Lightweight, talking about, well, we can't demonize these young people. It's not a matter of demonizing. It's a matter of calling them for what they are. When they act like thugs and animals, we got to call them for what they are and teach them, if you want to be looked upon, respected, honored as a civilized human being, act like it. That's not an extreme position. That's a mainstream position. That's the way I was taught. My father wasn't a right-wing extremist, and he wasn't a white supremacist. But he was a dignified, proud, wise black man who taught his son to be a man, not to be an animal, and not to be a dope. That's going to do it for me today. There's so many things we could talk about. We could talk about all these street takeovers now that are happening among young people, going on particularly in LA and Chicago. They're going to spread around the country because this stuff catches on, because they laid the groundwork for this when they started saying, well, as long as you don't steal over $1,000 worth of goods, it's okay. So now you've just got organized mobs just going and taking whatever they want. And of course they got a right to take it, because after all, as the mayor-elect of Chicago said, what about corporations plundering people with the prices they charge? I mean, folks, if that's what passes for leadership, the wicked are ruling and the people are mourning. How in the world the people of Chicago elected that idiot, I will never know. But he is a sad, sad, sad excuse for a mayor and a man. And particularly a black man, when these young black guys need to see a man telling them how to be a man, not how to be a thug. And here's all the excuses I'll give you that it's okay to be a thug. It's okay to go out and kill people. It's okay to go out and rob. It's okay to go out and act like a fool. And the man who justifies that is just as big a fool as they are. That's not an extreme position. That's a common sense mainstream position. And I guarantee you most of the American people agree with me. But you know what? Most of them are so silenced and intimidated by the fact that everybody's calling them an extremist for holding common sense views that people just don't speak up. Well, I want to give you license to stand up, to step up, encouragement, exhortation even, to stand up, to step up, to speak up, and to refuse to back up. Because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit. Because we are on God's side.